everyone, and welcome to First and Goal, a Carolina Panther podcast where I, C3 First and Goal, will break down every play, every game, and every moment that makes Panthers football so electrifying. Join me while I dive deep into the latest news, game analysis, and inside stories straight from the heart of Panther Nation. Whether you're a die-hard fan or new to the Pride, I got you covered with expert insights, player interviews, and all the buzz from around the league. So buckle up and get ready for a wild ride through the highs and lows of the season because this is First and Goal, where every yard counts. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of First and Goal. I am your host, C3 First and Goal. Do me a favor if you haven't already. Follow me on X/Twitter at First and Goal underscore FNG. That's FIRSTANGOAL underscore FNG. Also, now available on YouTube and other platforms where you get all your podcast needs. Now let's get into the show. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the day is upon us. Preseason is officially over, and football is back. For real, for real. Week 1, regular season, real deal, holy field. Let's get after it. I am stupid excited, as always, in most of my pods, trying to bring the juice. But stupid excited for this week 1 preview that we're going to be doing here in today's episode. I did miss my Bills Panthers preseason observation and takeaways, and I do apologize about that. Got caught up with the kids and stuff like that, so I didn't get an opportunity to get to it. I barely got an opportunity to get to this Saints Panthers preview that we're going to be doing here in today's episode. So again, I do apologize, but stay with me here. I'll definitely be doing my best to keep up week to week. I will be having to go back to work soon, so irrelevant, but here we are. Football is back. So, like I said, today's episode basically is just going to be a preview between, the Saints and the Panthers. Week 1 coming up. The way I'm going to break it down here is we're just going to do a quick little overview. I got some key players here on both sides, Saints and Panthers. Then we're going to talk about a couple key matchups, some key factors, and then talk about the expert picks and then my predictions to wrap up the show. All right, so let's jump right into it here, man. So here we go. So the Carolina Panthers are set to take on the New Orleans Saints tomorrow, Sunday. Better late than never. Tomorrow, Sunday, September 8th, 2024 at 1 p.m. in New Orleans, Louisiana, the Caesar Superdome. Tough game, as we know, right off the rip, going on the road against the Saints. Very, very tough division opponent. I mean, any division opponent's tough, but me personally, I absolutely despise the Saints. I hate the Saints with every facet of my being. I'm just kidding. But yeah, definitely biggest rivalry for me. Not a big fan of the Saints at all. So fun fact too, is the Saints actually lead the all-time regular season record against us 30-28 and swept us last year in 2023, meaning that they beat us both times we played each other. Quick overview on that is, like I said, it's going to be a dogfight for sure. We're going to be on the road, hostile environment. They're not going to be happy with us. We're not going to be happy with them. It's just going to be a very scratch and claw dogfight, to say the least. So, we're going to see how that goes. So I'm excited to see how this goes. I got high hopes for it. We'll get into all of that. But, yeah, so we got a few key players here for the Saints. Moving on to the Saints' key players. Alvin Kamara, obviously, last year, did decent. Some of his stat lines here. He had 180 carries, 694 yards, 53.4 yards per game with 5 touchdowns. So, not too great. But, Alvin Kamara obviously is a threat, so we got to watch out for him. I believe he was injured for a little bit last year, so that's why his numbers weren't the greatest. But, yeah, still a threat. Got to watch out for him. Chris Olave, Um, we'll talk a little bit more about him as well coming up here. But Chris Olave, he had 87 receptions, 23 receiving yards, 70 yards averaged per game. Yikes. And 5 touchdowns. So definitely a guy we got to keep our eyes on. And moving on to another key player here for the Saints, Carl Granderson. Um, Granderson, somebody that we definitely have to have a plan for. I'll get into that a little bit more coming up. But yeah, this guy's going to be a menace. This guy's a defensive lineman, believe edge. But yeah, either DTDE, they move him around a lot. But either way, he's going to be a menace on there with other additions that we'll get into. But yeah, a little bit of his stats. We had 78 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, and 1 pass deflection. So that's pretty stout. Like I said, we'll get more into this guy in a little bit. So remember that name, Granderson. Yeah, Granderson. And just remember, he's going to be somebody we need to have a plan for. And then moving on, we got Demario Davis here. He had 121 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, 4 pass deflections. Another guy we have to account for. Again, that defense is obviously the strong point for the Saints. These are just some key players that they got on their team that we want to, keep eyes on. But Demario Davis is definitely going to be a wrecking ball out there. And again, another guy we got to have an account for, with many others, but these are just a few. And then Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu had 75 tackles, 4 interceptions, and then 9 pass deflections. So obviously he's a stout, the Honey Badger. Everybody knows who he is. If you're unfamiliar with him, just a very good safety. I'm not going to get into all the details, but like I said, very good safety, and some of that we need to account for sure. And honorable mention, obviously Marshawn Lattimore. That dude's just a beast. So, we got some guys that we got to look out for. Definitely on the Saints defense and offense, but defense predominantly, and we'll talk more about their defense there in a minute. Let's move on to some Panther key players. So one of the Panther key players here that I got going out for us, and one of my main mans that I'm banging on the table for, being one of these leaders for us and moving forward. Hopefully we get him for a long time deal, maybe not super long, but Chuba Hubbard. Last year he had 238 carries, 902 yards, almost 1,000 yards. So I'm banging on a door for him to have 1,000 yards this season. But 902 yards. He had 53.1 yards per game, 5 touchdowns. So, not terrible for a team that was, not so great last season. But yeah, Chuba Hubbard's definitely my guy. I really hope we obviously not signing a 7-10 year deal or nothing, but maybe 3 years, something like that in that range, maybe 4. That'd be great. He's still young. He runs hard. He's got a lot of heart. I'm a big advocate for Chuba Hubbard, man. So if Chuba's listening, man, you're the man. I love your play style. Love your energy, the juice you bring to the game. Amen to you, man. You're doing your thing. So, like I said, watch out for Chuba Hubbard, 1,000-yard rusher this year. It's gonna happen. First, I said it first. All right, so Adam Thielen, obviously, we know he was our, main guy for us last season. He had 103 receptions with over 1,000 receiving yards at 10-14 to be exact. That's 1,014 yards with 59 yards per game, 4 touchdowns. So obviously he's going to be a key player for us in this game, especially against the stout defense that we will be talking more about. Moving on, we got Deontay Johnson here, our new acquisition from Pittsburgh. Obviously we got high hopes for this guy as well, being a great separator. Key issue last year that we were unable to do well with, along with many other things, but he will definitely be a game changer for us. Last year his stats were 51 receptions, 51 receptions. He had 717 receiving yards with 55 yards per game with 5 touchdowns. So not terrible, but, look who was over there throwing and whatnot. Definitely a better situation for him over here. Then we got, obviously, Javanian Clowney. Or Javanian Clowney, I'm sorry. It's a little late when I'm recording this. I'm not really great with pronouncing either way. In my head, I say his name perfect. But yeah, JC, not JC Horn. J.C. Clowney. He had 43 tackles last season, 9 for a loss, 9.5 sacks, 5 pass deflections. Obviously, a significant stout runner, and is going to be something that I'm going to talk about coming up as well. That's going to be a factor for us. But yeah, glad to have Clowney over here. Um, Jadavion is a beast. That's how you say it. There we go. I got it. And yes, glad to have him over here. And then we got Josie Jewel with 108 tackles. My boy Jewel's last season tore it up over in Denver. But 108 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks, 3 pass deflections. Another great addition to this defense to fit, Avero's, scheme. They already have familiarity, being over in Denver. So yeah, I really like that. We got some opportunities here to hit the ground running. That's why it's going to lead into my predictions here. And then last but not least, we got Jordan Fuller for the Panthers. 93 tackles, 1 for a loss, 3 interceptions, and 8 pass deflections. So this guy is a little kind of like been under the radar, not really talked about that much. This guy is going to be like, in my opinion, like a dark horse in a sense that, just nobody's talking about him. You know what I mean? Like he's a really good, somehow under the radar, free agent acquisition. I'm not saying this guy's, whatever the next Ed Reed or anything like that. Just, he's a super solid player, fits the scheme. I mean, we just made some really great moves schematically and, chemistry wise that, again, are very important factors and, behind the scenes that, people don't really talk about a lot. So those are my key players for, Panthers and Saints. So, now we're going to move on to my 3 key matchups here. And, we definitely have a lot, but, don't want to sit here and talk forever. So we'll just break it down into 3. So the first key matchup that we got here is going to be Deontay Johnson versus Marshawn Lattimore. Johnson's the new addition that we talked about. He's going to be the primary target for Bryce. And, Marshawn Lattimore is one of the top cornerbacks in the league, and he's going to be tasked with shutting down Deontay Johnson. So this is going to be definitely a key matchup to watch. We're going to be moving Deontay Johnson down. I don't know how the Saints really plan on attacking us. They might switch it up or they're moving guys around as well. So Marshawn Lattimore is not necessarily locked on Deontay Johnson, but that's kind of, a more, tendency of the Saints. They do kind of like to play a lot of man zone concepts where they do kind of lock on certain guys. So we'll see how they go about that, but that's definitely going to be a great key matchup to watch. I think they're going to be getting both. Deontay's going to win some. Lattimore's going to win some. It really just comes down to the team as a unit. But I'm really excited to see that. I'm really excited to see Deontay, break this boy's ankles out there with some nice route guard cuts. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be excited to see. Bryce Young dropping him with some dots. But yeah, so that's definitely a key matchup. Watch out for that. Definitely check for, to see how Deontay Johnson fares against, one of the better corners in the league. So he's going to have his hands full, that's for sure. All right, moving on to my next key matchup. Obviously, Ikem Ekwonu. He's going to be going against the guy that I was talking about earlier, Carl Granderson. And Granderson is this guy is definitely a problem. So, again, the Panthers left tackle is going to need to protect, Young from Granderson. And Granderson, if you didn't know, fun fact, he was a significant threat to us last season. Dude had 10 pressures and 2 sacks against us in both games. So, yeah, we need to have a plan for him. And the dude's definitely, I would just assume get better. What they say when you assume. But, yeah, I was watching a little bit of that dude's tape before I did the pod here. And, good Lord. Yeah, that dude's going to be a problem. We need to have an answer for him. I have some, things that we can do to, help. Some ideas that we can use to help Bryce Young as far as like techniques and stuff, and I'll go over that in a second after these key matchups. I'm gonna have that in my factors, but yeah, definitely something to have your eyes out on for there too. So can Ikem Ekwonu bounce back. Obviously, he had a struggle season last year. He's got his hands full as well with this Saints defense. I mean, that's, essentially the overview here with the Saints. That defense is going to be a problem for us, and we have to have an answer. And like I said, Carl Granderson is definitely going to be that guy to, be chip blocking, whatever we got to do, Tough to do because we do have Ian Thomas. The one thing he was good at, he will be out. So that is unfortunate with Tommy Tremble, our better blocking tight ends. But there's other ways, and I'll go over that in a minute. But yeah, definitely big key matchup there. Can Icky bounce back from that very rough season he had last year? Again, he has a good opportunity here to display. He, will be able to have a bounce back season by holding his own against a very stout, very, very stout New Orleans Saints defense here. So now we're moving on to our third one. And I got like a 3A, 3B, so I'll make it quick. So 3A is going to be our O-line, or I'm sorry, 3A is going to be our OLBs. Good Lord. Like I said, it's a little late. Yeah, our outside linebackers versus their offensive line. All right, can we generate any pressure? We got, obviously, to Davion Clowney, right? Hopefully he can generate some kind of pressure. I know he's not the best pass rusher. He's better at run, stuffing. But we'll see. We'll see how that unfolds. But yeah, again, they're going to be going up against a couple of, they're going to be going against the rookie and Trevor Penning. So, let's see what these guys can do. Can we get any pressure with, DJ Johnson, and Echo Leota? I feel like we can. To be honest, I feel like we will be able to. We're not going to have 5-6 sacks or anything like that, but I feel like, this defense is going to bring the juice, and we're going to see it for sure. So my 3B is Mike Jackson, versus, A.T. Perry. Jackson, we just got him. He's already kind of gotten that number 2 role, outside of, Chris Olave. They don't really have too many people that are scary except, A.T. Perry is, an emerging talent for the Saints. So that's why it's like my 3B. But, yeah, I'm really excited to see what Mike Jackson can bring to the table on top of the rest of that rotation that we acquired. I know we lost Keenan Isaac. So that's all right, but unfortunately he's gone. So I would like to see him because he was one of the more taller ones. But yeah, in Canales I trust. So I'm real excited to see what this new regime of secondary on top of Mike Jackson can do against this mid-tier beyond Chris Olave wide receiver core for the Saints. So those are my 3 key matchups there, for our Saints Panthers preview. Let's move on to some key factors to kind of sum it all up, and then we'll move on to some picks and wrap up the show here. So some key factors that I have for this upcoming game, and we're gonna go right to basically talking about the Saints defense first and foremost. So, the Saints defense is basically expected to smother us and make it very challenging for, Bryce to find any rhythm, to really do anything. And some quick stats on the Saints defense last year. Quickly here, we got points allowed. The Saints were 8th in the NFL last season, allowing 19.2 points per game, which is yikes. Total defense, 10th in the NFL, giving up only 325 yards per game. So not too shabby there. And then sacks, they were 4th in the league with 48 sacks. So big issue that we were having, offensive line. Again, moving into, my key factors, we'll talk about that. But yes, yeah, we got to, again, have an answer for such names. But yeah, 4th in the league with 48 sacks, not to mention some of the additions that they've made. And I haven't even talked about that yet, but we're getting there now. But yeah, that's crazy. 48 sacks. So they're going to be bringing the juice. We got to definitely have to have a plan for that. And then pass defense, they were 2nd in the NFL. 2nd in the NFL, showcasing their strength in their secondary. So it's going to be very tough for us to pass. Very tough for us to pass. And again, I'll break down a few ways that we can, try to combat this defense and my key factors here. But yeah, again, like I said, they were fourth in the league with 48 sacks without some key additions. And one of those key additions was Chase Young, people. Chase Young. They just recently signed Chase Young to that already pretty nasty defense. Um, I mean, yikes. Not to mention a couple of their draft picks. They got Kool-Aid McKinstry. That kid's pretty nasty. Jalen Ford out of Texas. So he's a little spicy. I did a little take on him and in my draft profiles or whatever breakdowns. Like I said, it's late, so whatever. But yeah, so like good lord, they got some stuff going on over there. So they're fourth in the league in sacks without Chase Young. Now they bring in Chase Young, so yikes. And that's already a very weak area for us, our offensive line. Granted, we had made some alterations and bringing in Robert Hunt, bringing in Damian Lewis, so that is good. So I do feel good about that. But this is going to be a tall glass of water. This is going to be a tall task. This is not going to be an easy game whatsoever. And these guys do not like us, so they're going to be gunning for us. And who knows, we could even see Spencer Rattler. I mean, I'm not sure if he's starting already. Yeah, it's Derek Carr, so we can even see a little Spencer Rattler. Who knows? Mix it up, Drew Brees days, Sean Payton. Yeah. I couldn't think of his coach's name for a second, but yeah, Sean Payton would always be doing some trickery stuff. I know the new coach ain't doing all that, but you never know with the Saints. You never know with the Saints. So, what are the Panthers going to need to do? In order to, try to find some type of rhythm, try to do something against this very tough, tenacious defense. Again, 8th in the NFL in points per game, 10th total defense, 4th in sacks, 2nd in pass defense. What are the Panthers going to do offensively? Well, I got some key factors for you right here. First things first is the Panthers offense. It's going to have to bring the juice, right? Bryce Young is going to need to step up behind this improved offensive line that I just talked about with Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt and Corbett now at center. I know some people are down about Corbett, but Corbett's a groomed dude, man. He's been doing it a long time, not being a center, but he's been playing football for a long time. He's a smart guy, and if you watch any of his interviews, he talks about basically center being pretty much no challenge for him in the sense that he can pick it up and do it for us for now. So, and I'm okay with that because he's a good guard tackle. So I like Corbett there, but he's got to step up behind those guys. And then again with our new receiving targets like Deontay Johnson and Xavier Legette in this defined scheme with Dave Canales. Oh God, I'm so excited! I can't wait. I think that's the X factor. Our X factor in this game, 100% without a doubt, is going to be the fact of we got the element of surprise. We got the element of surprise because nobody knows what our offense is going to look like. Oh, sure, they say we're going to run the ball and all that. Nobody knows what the offense is going to look like. It's the same for them too, but like we're more mysterious in a sense because we got a new coach, new scheme. Nobody knows what we're going to do. What are we doing with Bryce? How's he going to look? So we have that X factor as far as we got the element of surprise. And again, also with Xavier Legette, we didn't really get to see Xavier Legette at all in the preseason that much, only a little bit in that Bills preseason game. So we don't really know what he's going to look like. And I don't mean that in a bad way, just in the sense of an element of surprise. So we can dial him up on some plays. And again, when I tweeted it out earlier, when my boy goes up for 6 in the red zone, triple covered, I don't want to hear anything about Xavier Worthy. You know what I'm saying? You got the wrong Xavier, baby. But yeah, so with those new targets, the new scheme, the new energy, the surprise attack and the element of surprise, that's going to be a huge factor, But again, the O-line needs to be solid. Assuring Bryce gets enough time in the pocket. It's going to be super critical. And again, double teaming Granderson or using tight ends and running backs to chip block are going to be a big way to neutralize his impact. We really got to have an answer for Granderson. That dude's going to be a problem. So like I said, using tight ends or running backs to chip block would help neutralize his impact. But again, we really need that pocket to hold up well, and we definitely got to double team Granderson and also have an answer for Chase Young. I didn't want to say him towards I got to the end when I kind of incorporated it all together, but we need an answer for Chase Young and Cameron Jordan. So again, that Saints defense is stacked. We have to have answers for that. So beyond just tight ends, running backs, chip blocking, and double teaming, well, what else can we do? Well, there's a few other things, and again, some other key factors. Some quick passing game, right? That's where we need to utilize. We got to utilize our quick passing game, you know what I'm saying, to help mitigate, the pass rush. So some short, quick throws to wide receivers like, Adam Thielen, can keep the chains moving, and keep, Granderson off, BY nines back, and that's what we need. Which we will be seeing obviously a lot of quick passes, especially with Adam Thielen and Deontay Johnson out there hitting them quick sevens, hitting them quick slants, hitting them quick drags, and shallows. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be real meshy out there, if you know what I'm saying, baby. That's football lingo. But anyways, quick passing game is gonna be huge. But the biggest factor that's gonna be the most helpful for us is the running game, right? This stout defense, the main way we're really going to beat this stout defense is we have to run the ball. Just like Coach said, just like Coach promised to my heart, because that's where he had me at hello with the run game. We need to be what we've always been, that smash mouth football team. Steve Wilkes knew it, and when he brought that energy and that type of style, we were winning. Not going to get into that. That's another show, but excuse me. Like I said, that's another show, but that's what we need to do. Ground and pound. We got a lot of, we're probably going to be more on these outside zones, type of runs here, which is fine. We'll have some powers in there too. But we got guys that can move now, that can pull. That's the whole point of why we brought them in. These guards are good at pull blocking. So we'll be doing a lot of that, a lot of counters and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see that. But we really have to establish a strong running game and run directly at, that defensive line. Try to tire them out and then make it easier for us when we start, incorporating play actions. But again, utilizing, our running back core with Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, Blackshear, keeping them guys in the mix, keeping everybody fresh. It's going to be a great way to really open things up for us. And then when we get the running game established, we can move into some play actions, which can be very effective when we get the running game established. And then we can really have him hesitate and give Bryce that time that he needs to find open wide receivers downfield to make those big plays that we all want to see and we all can't wait for tomorrow at 1 p.m. when we silence Caesar Dome, whatever the heck it's called, coming out of there with a win, which I believe will happen. And then last but not least, one last thing we can do to try to really combat that amazing defense is some screen passes. I'm not a big fan of that, so we don't want to get too crazy with that because, these guys can sniff those out really well. But some screen passes can help take advantage of an aggressive pass rush, and they're going to be aggressive. But personally, stick to the run game, establish the run game, quick passes, and then take your shots downfield with the play action. And we can be successful. We can be successful against the Saints on the road in week 1 with this new system, team, and rejuvenized energy. And we were able to see that rejuvenized energy and with that win against the Bills in the preseason game. Again, I understand it's just preseason, but preseason matters for a team that hasn't done anything in 6 years. So, respectfully, you know what I mean? So, and it's just morale-wise, obviously, right? It just gives your guys a little hope, and we needed that. And that win also showcased that, hey, we're ready. We look good. We didn't commit any pre-snap penalties that I was talking about in my earlier pods on my preseason takeaways. At least the ones. Granted, they're only in there for like 8 to 10 reps or whatever. But, they look good. And that's really all we wanted to see. The ones look good, get a touchdown, get off the field, and try to win the game. It's preseason, so it doesn't really matter. But again, a team that just hasn't really won nothing in a while, Ah, man, a dub is perfect, and it really gives us a lot of momentum going into this week one game on the road. That we really need some kind of, like I said, spark, some kind of energy going into this game because we can't be going in there dragging our feet. Again, that defense is going to be ready for us, and we need to be ready for them. And that's simple as that. We need to be ready for them. And like I said, with the things that I said, that the key factors, with the running game, quick passes, and play action, we should be able to upset these New Orleans Saints, on the road. So, what do the experts think? Well, the experts obviously seem to think that the Saints are going to basically shred us like everybody else, and that's okay. So, according to NBC Sports, the Saints are favored to win with a money line of 192, negative 192 as of the moment, and a spread of -4. So, they definitely are -4 and then minus 192. So they are definitely favored to win. And then this game is expected to be a low scoring game with the under over of 41.5. That's NBC Sports. So Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated says that the Saints are predicted to cover the spread of -4. And they go on to talk about the offensive improvements. Well, their improvements in the offense led by Derek Carr, which we ain't worried about Derek Carr. And then Dimers, according to Dimers, their predictive model gives the Saints a 67% chance of winning with a final predicted score of 22 to 18. So, as always, the odds are stacked against us, and we are not expected to win this game. And I'll be honest with you, my head is telling me we ain't gonna win this game either, right? Because I've sat here and said it already. As much as I want us to win, in my heart of hearts, unfortunately, this is going to be a 5-7, winning ball club, or football team, whatever you want to say. Uh, However, in light of the last preseason game, I am a little bit more rejuvenized and a little bit more optimistic. And re-looking at the schedule, I feel like we could possibly win 9 games. So now I'm on the more of it could be a 9-game win season. Or yeah, I think I said that right. And that could be a potential for playoffs. So in that retrospect, my prediction for the Saints and the Carolina Panthers is I'm going to take the homer pick on this one, and I'm going to go Panthers upset the Saints on the road in a tough fought division rivalry game, 17-14, baby. And we take it 1-0. And I'm standing on business, as the kids say these days. I'm standing on business on that one. All right. We're taking it. We're gonna go into New Orleans. We're gonna pull out a dub. And that's really gonna carry a significant amount of momentum. And it's a division game, so it's gonna count as two. As they say, really it's one, but it's two. And that's an amazing way to start this season. And I can't wait to, and I'll be more than excited either way, but I'll be even more excited uh, to do my observations and takeaways of our week one game after it's over, after we wrap it up tomorrow, around 4 o'clock. So that's my takeaways for our upcoming, well, the preview for the Saints and Panthers. Again, my predictions is that it's going to be a low scoring game as well. I'm going to take the under on that as well. Week one, everybody's still trying to figure out their schemes and get, in rhythm, especially teams that aren't, playoff, recent calibered, at the moment, like the Saints and Panthers. Obviously it's new year, new team, anything could happen. So that's why I'm giving us the slight chance that we win 17-14 in a very close fought division game. Um, and I hope that's the case because I really want us to win, and I know we all do too. So that's going to be the show for today. I really appreciate everybody for listening. I see I got a couple of listeners, so I really appreciate you guys for listening. I really do. Again, please give me a follow on Twitter or X, whatever. And I just also recently started dropping stuff on YouTube as well. After this coming week's game, I will start doing video as well with my podcast because apparently I'm not a content creator if I don't do video. And I do want to be, understood as, someone that's trying to be, a serious, independent, content creator, journalist for the Panthers. So again, this is first and goal. I'm taking the homer pick. We're winning this, boys. Let's go. Panthers, keep pounding. We're taking it 1-0 against the Saints tomorrow. I don't care what anybody says. We got the opportunity. We got the weapons. Bryce has got a year under his belt. We've upgraded the line. We got some weapons. We got some excitement. We're coming off a win. We got some juice this time round. And we got Dan Morgan and Dave Canales with a proper culture and a proper system. As I've said before, things are up and up, Panther fans. Things are up and up. And I'm tremendously excited, and I really hope you are as well. So, again, I hope that, the next podcast that I do, it's a win. We won. And I can listen to this and be even more excited like called it. But yes, we are definitely going to take this tomorrow against the Saints. So all my fans, again, I really appreciate, well, not fans, but all my listeners, again, I really appreciate everybody, tuning in. You have so many options, but you choose to listen to me. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm going to be upgrading the video in my next pod and some different sounds, and I'm going to, really tighten it up. So I really appreciate everybody again. God bless, take care, and keep pounding. First and goal out.